Welcome to the Sandpit Startups Spotlight, where we shine a spotlight on some budding startups in front of a investor here with us today. And who do we have for us in store today, Abhishek?
Well, we have Alessio with his brilliant idea. He has a track record working in a startup himself, and it has been a pleasure knowing Alessio, but also the investor. We have Antler with us, a global VC firm, very popular, its presence in most of the countries that are startup hubs. And it's a pleasure to have with us Karan from Antler as well.
Well, thank you for having me, Abhishek. And for those listening in, Abhishek and I actually went to the same school, so we have known each other for some time now. I help manage the portfolio at Antler Middle East. We're a global VC fund that comes in at day zero. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much about Antler, and happy to expand more on it as we go along.
So not to give him too much, but what are you looking for here today?
So Antler's... our entire thesis is founders first, right? We back founders over ideas, and how we work is we find founders who want to start up, take them through a residency program of 10 weeks, and where we help people find their co-founders, validate their ideas, and spend over 200 hours with each startup before writing a check. And once we write the check, we have 4 pillars of adding value. Helping raise capital, helping access extreme amounts of tools and services, because we have more than 1,450 startups globally, which has allowed us to negotiate some good deals for our portfolio companies and volume discounts. It's to help open doors and connections for business development, and in all also expand on corporate governance.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Amazing. So over to you, Alessio. Your elevator pitch.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. First of all, thanks for having me on. Really excited about the opportunity and excited about this panel and to meet you all again. So my name is Alessio. I'm the founder of Roastit. It's very much of like post-idea stage, very early stage startup. It's an AI agent for paid ads optimization, essentially. So let me start from a really like a quick true story. A couple of months ago, so that's where everything started. I was out for dinner on around Christmas period with a very good friend of mine, which is like a growth marketeer here in MENA. He's running a really successful performance marketing agency, a lot of clients, fully sustainable agency, and the guy couldn't stop complaining, bitching, and moaning about how in the past 10, 15, 18 years, Google Ads hasn't changed at all. In fact, if anything, it got much more sophisticated, much more complex to operate, and the tools that are plugging on top of Google Ads to start optimizing the conversion rate optimization are really like complex to learn, and really it requires a lot of deep tech integration. So basically, this puts his agency onto a lot of pressure. I need to hire a more sophisticated marketeer. I need to have a more intense training program. I need to spend more money for experiment with my client. So we dug a little bit deeper on this, and it turned out the problem is much more complex and much more depth than a single marketing agency problem. So e-commerce brands specifically, and brands who rely on paid ads for growth, like they essentially have like a very similar problem. It's like, how do I start cracking my CAC, in a more healthy way? How do I figure out my LTV in a more healthy way? How do I figure out, like, without spending $25,000 in experiments to figure out like a positive ROI? How do I make that work? We wanted to solve that problem. We wanted to tackle the solution, which is not only would have helped my friend Summer, but also like try to kind of solve this this complex like problem especially for brands who wants to crack this 0 to 1 marketing spend. So that's where we build Roastit. Like, it's an AI agent for ad budget optimization, very simple to use. It's a plug and play tool. You sync it onto your Google Ads. It learns everything from your historical data. It learns from your campaign, the audiences that are hitting better, understands your campaigns. You plug it onto all the different landing pages where you are landing the traffic to, and essentially start to recommend all the different actions that you as a marketeer with very little to none skill have to start taking in order to start meeting your CAC performances. Mm-hmm. So the beauty of this tool is that compared to the majority of the others out there is that it's very simple, and it's one of those tools that you set up once and you forget about it. That's what the marketers that we have shown to it and that we are piloting with, they really love it. Mm-hmm. It's a tool that doesn't make you do work. and it's an integration-free tool. So instead of going through, oh, I need to talk to my devs, I need to put it on a Jira ticket, I need to figure out which sprint to implement it, how do you maintain it? You plug it onto your Google Ads, it syncs it, and then start to recommend you things. You take action, and month over month, you start seeing results. So it's very simple to measure because it reduces your wasted ad spend. So very simple to say, hey, what was my ad spend in the past 90 days without tool? What's going to be in the next 90 tools? Simple to measure, works, doesn't work. It optimizes your CAC, and it improves your ROAS. That's our promise. Very simple variable and performance KPI to measure. And as I said, yeah, it's that type of tool, self-learning. So you set it up once, and then self-learns like month over month on different performances. So we are live already. We started this thing off an idea, which is crazy to really think about. A couple of months ago, we built it in a weekend kind of thing. And we went live with the first pilot, essentially pilot account. And now we have 2 use cases live. One is super niche on this space, which is like dynamic landing page personalization. So depending upon where the traffic comes from, so marketers run hundreds of ads, thousands of ads, and they typically land in 1, 2, 3, or a handful of landing pages. So we personalize that experience on the landing page dynamically based on where the traffic comes from. It comes from this ad, and then the whole landing page copy, it's personalized in automated way, fully real time based on that ad. If the traffic comes from a different ad copy, the landing page is personalized real time on the edge. Wow. So essentially, like, it really personalizes the whole experience for the user to help convert him better, having a more like personalized touch experience. So that's the one use case we have. And the other one that we are now experimenting is specifically for e-commerce, for product page optimizer. So that's like, it's if you want to start adding benefits to your product based on where the traffic comes from, and you have like hundreds or thousands of products, it's hard to go one by one and figure out, okay, this user wants this. Okay, so essentially the product plugs in the page and start to optimize it based on the different benefits of every product. And again, I mean, this is just the beginning. The whole idea is about like really building an AI CRO, which not only connects to Google Ads, but also start connecting to Google Optimize. It connects to Google Tag Manager. It connects to your Google Analytics, and then it can really become like a full, like a true like a AI CRO kind of tool. So the results so far, again, we are live for a couple of months, which is pretty insane to think about it. If you'd have asked me back in December or during this Christmas dinner I had with Summer about that 3 months later we would have been handling $95,000 per month in ads of brands, I would have never believed it. But here we are today handling like $96,000 worth of ads from 4 different accounts. So the results are like what we call win by saving. The first account that we launched was with Shoot Day, and within the 60 days, so the first 30 days positive result, but the most impressive are within 60 days, 1 campaign only, 37% conversion rate improvement and minus a 33% cost per acquisition. So we basically ended up on 1 campaign for Shoot Day that ran thousands of keywords to save them thousands of dollars per month. So we've been running for 2 months. And after those results, now we have rolled out to 9 campaigns. So we really scaled it up from 1 as a test to the others. Other account is called Peninsula, which is a B2B agency, and 30 days, 44% conversion rate improvement. Now we have onboarded Hello Chef, pretty big account here in the region. We are speaking to other bigger startup here in the region. We're just taking like step by step. The opportunity, it's pretty big because the total ad market in the global digital advertising, it's about 700 billion. We are starting from the MENA region, about 8 billion. So that's essentially our SAM that we are tackling into. And the go-to-market strategy, I just want to touch on it very briefly. Maybe there will be a question about it. Will be like we have several pillars or several buckets. So number 1 is what we call our growth engine. We are marketeer, people specialized on figuring out our own CAC. So we're about to launch our paid campaign, paid and cold outreach. We have scraping systems, email marketing system to figure out like how to pinpoint and target the right persona. The second pillar is about as a plugin. So leveraging the ecosystem of Shopify, of WordPress, and other e-commerce in the region, e-commerce builder in the region like Salla, and then be able to have a plugin and then work on the SEO within their app store, essentially, to kind of have e-commerce brands to download our plugin. And the third one is purely like building our agency network here locally, where we step by step by networking, doing events like this, we start saying, how do we get deeper and deeper and deeper? We are working with two really cool agencies already, which is like strategic, because the agencies, they are like on a one-to-many approach. Like they are one entity that we need to work with, and they have multiple accounts and multiple clients. We're working with Acquisite, which is like a really big on performance marketing, and another one is Growth Lever, which is another pretty big one on marketing and growth. And the team, we started off with my little brother, believe it or not, which is like an AI scientist. He's like studied out of VU in Amsterdam, and it's like he's the AI wizard behind everything. Myself, I've been in the region for 9 years. I've been involved on a really cool journey with Seas, which is a company that recently got acquired for $46 million. Yeah, right. I was one of the early hires. I stayed with them 3.5 years, helped them with expansions, with growth, and essentially like to really penetrate onto new market. I've launched several Amazon FBA brands, and I exited one, so that was a nice little win. And love to build, so I love to solve problems. So that's kind of like where I am. I'm more the go-to-market guy, which is out there and talks. Francesco is the AI wizard and the guy who builds, and then we partner up with this guy Summer, and then he became a full part of the team in terms of marketing and growth.
Nice. I think we're probably going to have to move on now.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? Should we move over to the sort of question segment?
Yes, sir. I have a lot. And thank you for the presentation. It actually helped understand the company a lot.
Okay.
So ads and tools around ad tech are pretty commonplace. It's a competitive market, and every tool has different use cases, different sets of features that marketers use. What works for one marketer may not work for the other. Right. So what enables you, or what helps you win in this extremely competitive market, and that helps capture the attention of a relatively larger segment of the market, unlike others, because there's a lot of tools that can cater to very small niches, and they will love the tool. But from a broader market user perspective, they tend to see lower adoption rates.
Yeah, so look, it's a great question. It's a complex market. It's like there are a lot of, it's very fragmented. There are many pockets of this market. It's not about there is one tool that runs your ads. It just doesn't work like that, right? So the way that we understand it is that there are many sophisticated tools which their adoption rate and their barrier of entry for marketeers to start adopting. And for marketeer, I don't just mean as a solo, like a freelance marketing. I also mean for brands to really go through the whole approval process of onboarding a new tool, of rolling out a new tool, of learning the new tool. It's a really, really long and lengthy. And that's like what it's really massive barrier for marketers and brand. It's about beyond cost. It's about like how long does it take to roll it out and until we start seeing results, and what's the integration behind it. This tool solves it. This tool is really like solves this all of these jumps directly, and say you plug it in half an hour, even less than that, and you start seeing results after 30 days. Just give it a little bit of traffic to start comparing it with your previous 30 days. You don't like it, you unplug it, you like it and it works, let's figure out a way how can we roll it out to multiple campaigns. So that's like a massive USP and value proposition. It's a tool that once it's set up, it doesn't make you do work. That's the wording that we have been keep hearing from all of these marketeers that we are interviewing. I don't want to do work. So if you project that on a broader perspective, and if the tool value is about doesn't make you do work, then all of a sudden you as a new brand, you as a new business concept that relies on paid ads for start getting early traction or growth, then you realize, well, I mean, that all of those sophisticated skills, all of those costs, all of those hires on figuring it out, how does the Google Ads works, it's all solved by this. So then all of a sudden, like we don't just capture like niche use cases or early stage brands, but then we can really say we really solve this portion like as your AI CRO kind of concept.
My question would be a bit more technical, because you mentioned AI.
Yeah,
it is a buzzword nowadays, but
sure.
In order to understand that, of course, you have your brother who's an AI scientist, which is a great
wizard,
profile.
Yeah,
it's a winner already.
Yeah.
But with the limited data pool you have currently, you mentioned 3-4 companies.
Yeah.
How will you build on your AI algorithm in order to support startups? And secondly, would be if you need the funds, for example, to scale this up.
Yeah.
What is the AI version of it and perhaps the operational version of it?
Yeah, great question, Abby. I love it. So let me get from the first one. So the AI is on the sense that the AI ultimately beyond the buzzword is what it does is like it helps you generate things in real time that make sense for that are personalized for the users. Okay, so what does the AI do? Of course, the more data, the better generally as a concept, but the reality is that it learns based on your context. So you are in your account, you're plugged in, we plugged onto your Google Ads Manager. That's where it learns it. It learns based on the context of the landing page where you are landing the ads, based on the ad group names, based on the keyword that you are targeting, based on the audiences that you are targeting. So it learns it based on the context. If you plug in a very different account, as we have like one account, we have it on the videography space, and another account we have it on the meal plan space. It's like the AI stays the same, but it learns on different. So the more accounts we learn, but they're all independent on their own. So that's in terms of like how it operates. In terms of like scalability, another beauty about AI and the current infrastructure now is that we are not in charge of scaling it. We use softwares and infrastructure that scales with volume. So it's more about like building an amazing experience for the user. I think that's more like what we are hyper focused on. It's about how can we simplify the onboarding, how can we make it even easier, like faster to get in, how can we get like the aha moment and those results like instead of 30 days, maybe after 10 days already you say, oh wow, I see an improvement. And then once we are in, like you roll out with one campaign, it's very simple to switch it on to 10 campaigns and 20 campaigns and then your whole account. That's kind of like where we are in right now. We are very early, as I said, like a couple of months, but we already started seeing that because of the results on the first account for one campaign, they're like, holy shit, sorry for my French, but I want to roll it out to my entire budget, right? Yeah. Why only limit it to one?
Okay. I love that. I think it's so clever, especially how unique these landing pages are for the visitors. I think it's brilliant. For example, with my business, I have one line of service, let's say, but we have different industries that we serve, and in those different industries, they expect different sort of ways of delivery.
Exactly.
So my sort of task is delivering that message in a way that suits them. So this is a brilliant tool. My only concern may be that we do a lot of stuff with Facebook ads,
right?
And they have this thing called Advantage Plus, and it's kind of getting to the point where it's kind of doing most of the work itself. Okay. So my concern is like, how long until Google does that? And in that case, how do you pivot? And with the team that you have, how have you pivoted before? Are you ready to pivot? Are you good at pivoting?
Yeah, love it. Great question. Just a little follow up to understand myself, to understand the question better. Sure. So when you mention that Facebook or Meta ads accounts does it really well, or is getting to the point that it kind of is all automated, is it on the ad creation and optimization side, or is on the landing page
so it's
side
the targeting actually.
Targeting.
It's got nothing to do with creatives.
Okay. So here we're talking about really top funnel, and I believe that on top funnel, that's where the 90% of the time marketers spend is how can I optimize my top funnel, my targeting, my creatives, my copy, my audience, the segmentation. Yeah. But when it comes to, I want to be able to have a personalized experience as we move on to mid funnel or lower the funnel. Yeah. That's where like the Google or Facebook currently. And it's like those are ads platforms. So once it comes to the landing page, it's like it's out of their domain.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that Meta does that. I don't believe that Meta personalizes the landing page, understanding where the traffic can come from, and that's where the tool is very competitive now.
Nice.
And I think it will stay like that, because even Google, like with the Performance Max, that really helps you to really, create one campaign, blast it everywhere. You don't need to think about it. That's in terms of channels and exposure to find the right audience. But when it comes to how do I convert it and how do I increase my conversion rate by personalizing the experience for the traffic, doesn't do that, right? So that's where we are now. I still do believe that the tool it's a one use case that does it very, very well, but we need to really broaden it up to a suite of of a more robust and more kind of like bring our barrier higher.
Yeah.
Definitely get that, and that's what we are now learning and looking at.
Yeah.
But we are very excited. I mean, and as I said, if you still think about like mid-funnel optimization, now we are only integrating with the key platform, which is the ads platform. But what about the Google Analytics platform? So we also start learning how the traffic works inside that page, and now the page, instead of changing the copy of it, now also changes the structure or the section structure based on where the people are clicking on the page, right? Because the more we learn from CRO, right, from other tools that helps on the conversion, and the more we can design that tool, plug and play, and make it work. Even to the point, and now I'm really going crazy, but like what we are talking as a potential vision is that to the point that you don't even need to have a landing page. We will auto build it for you. So like you plug in the tool, understands where the traffic comes from, learn from the use cases, understands from this different platform like more about traffic and your audience, and builds a landing page real time, and we host the whole thing. So you as a marketeer, now all of a sudden you can truly focus on how do I make more money by doing better targeting, but I'm not worried about, is this creative gonna be good enough? Is this sales page hyper optimized, So that the tool does it all for you.
That's great. I think you have obviously a lot of passion, and we're going to have to cut it short, I'm afraid. But we can obviously we'll speak after the show.
Of course.
Karen, do you have any last remarks before we move on to the next startup?
No, I think this is it's a great tool, and I think there's definitely a very clear path to scaling the business up globally, and it's going to be a global market, and that's just my one word of advice: cater to the global audience.
Fantastic. We are so ambitious, so love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, Alessio, thanks so much. And amazing.
Thanks to you guys.
Amazing.
Yeah, very excited. Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, so Abby, give us a quick intro, shall we?
So Koen, also part of an alum, so I have two alum members here with me from different schools. So it's a pleasure to have Koen with his fantastic idea. And why I talk about alums is because his startup is in relation to the alumni and the alumnus which different schools have.
Yep.
From kindergarten school, probably not ready, but it's mainly a segue to LinkedIn for those who use their in-house academic platforms for connections with alums. But I leave it to the founder himself, Koen, to talk about his venture, and would love to hear Karan's thoughts on it as well.
I mean, it's clear as day that I would love something like this, because all four of us, coincidentally the Bi kids, went to international schools where kids just went off to colleges in different countries, lost touch. Some came back to the region, some did not. So I think important problem to solve in reconnecting and bringing back the human touch.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I'll maybe do like 90 seconds about myself and then go into the startup idea. So yeah, my name is Koen Salmons. I grew up in Dubai. I lived here for 14 years. Moved here when I was 5. Went to in my international school here, and then I went off to the Netherlands for my bachelor's, and then went to IE Business School for my master's. And when I over the summer, I was working in the private equity industry while I was validating my idea. I made the jump into actually building out this startup. Starting in August, and as soon as I came back here, it was a completely different world, because I'd always been here in high school and friends and so many people come back, but now I was coming here professionally for my career. So I reached out to a lot of alums on LinkedIn IE, and I got into conversation with Abby, and I talked about what my startup was, which is we built alumni platforms for schools around the world, and we started this around 8 months ago, and it came by because I, around a year ago, went to an alumni reunion at my international school. And when I was there, they'd gotten like all this catering, and all these teachers were there.
Mm-hmm.
But there were not that many students that showed up. There were like 40. So I went up to the director after her speech, and she owns a various number of schools. And I asked her, like, how is this possible? Because I know so many students that have gone abroad for their studies and come back to Dubai, just like the four of us here.
Yeah.
And there were so many back. And she just said, we reached out to some of the head boys and head girls, and we posted something on Facebook. That was it.
Nope.
And they just expected that to just word of mouth to take off, kind of like they were dreaming. So I was like, this is impossible, because I've already organized like mini reunions in America, in the Netherlands, as well as Madrid, from my high school around the world. So I just, out of myself, just started helping them out, kind of building a database, and they absolutely loved that. So then while I was still in my master's, I decided to go and further validate that idea. And I talked to 30 schools within 2 months, and 92% of them signed up to our pilot.
Wow.
And that basically gave me the next step of I need to go find someone to build this.
Yeah.
And that's where my co-founder comes in.
Very, very interesting journey, and I can feel the pain point as well. It's also by chance that Karan and I found out that we are from the same
we didn't
school.
know.
So we didn't know. So we can already make use of this platform. You have a use case example right over here. But I would take this opportunity for Karan to talk about this from an Antler perspective, wearing his VC hat, on what he thinks about the idea.
I think it's a great idea. I think as the world gets more globalized, we're going to start seeing more international schools pop up. As you have, and just speaking very macro here, right? You have more migrants across the world, people migrating to different countries, sending their kids to somewhat of a global standard of a school. This will just give rise to a number of students that need to be tracked across the world, because people are moving countries. I have lived in 3 countries over the last 10 years, right? Everyone's moving countries. And the schools that I went to have pretty decent alumni connection tools.
Yes.
Johns Hopkins and HR College in Mumbai. They do have a lot of engagement, but this is a very common gripe that I've heard from other universities and alums of other schools. For instance, our school, right? We don't have much going on in terms of alumni networking. And so there's definitely a white space there. Can it be scaled up globally? Yes, very much so. There's market precedence in such school-related platform scaling. That's my from a VC hat, definitely something that is VC-able. It's all going to depend on distribution strategy. And I think that's what we were talking about a little before our session.
Yeah, we were. And I have a pretty fun story about that, because we really, early on in this journey, realized that the fact that me and my 2 co-founders, and one of them is Marcus, and he studied computer science at NTNU in Berkeley, as well as Hugues. He's always been a technical, curious guy, and he worked at Morgan Stanley before. And so the 3 of us came together, and we just came together in Amsterdam, and we really built this out in a matter of a week. And we were so awed by the current tools that we really realized, like, okay, there are other people in this world that can build at this speed. So we really got to find that unique edge, but what separates us. So it's not just more about how good is your product, it's how good can you actually bring this to market and put this in front of users to get that feedback really quickly. So we, from day one, were already thinking about so many different ideas, like, LinkedIn outbound, email outbound, reaching out to all teachers of ours, just trying everything to just get to the decision makers within these schools. We even printed out letters. So we customized, that's the wonder of AI, we customized 140 letters, printed them out for every single principal in Dubai, put them in an envelope, put their name, hand signed on the front, and we drove 4 days straight to every single school, hand delivered them at the reception, say, there's an important letter for the principal.
That's cool.
Here you go.
That's one way to get in.
Yeah, that's
And
creative. Right?
it was insane, which is also another startup idea for anyone listening, because we got more than 40% reply rate on that.
That's good.
So just getting that first conversation, which is better than any digital channel
Yeah.
I think you could actually
Absolutely.
get.
So personalized. Really
Yeah.
nice.
And that was a really cool strategy. For the rest, we've worked so much on just building different outbound automations, which gets me around 4 calls a week.
Okay.
And I just get an inbound reply, and they've kind of already had a small conversation with me. So yeah, we've really been focusing on that distribution, and we did start into a small niche, and that was also kind of the goal of ours, because we think we could get so much more done in a short period of time, especially since we're all pretty young. We did want to get some results quite quickly. But yeah, to get onto the actual alumni side of it, and what you're talking about engagement, is we analyze kind of all the existing solutions and platforms out there, and that is one of the most difficult parts. Is, you know, alumni are just busy. How do they go onto the platform? You can't expect them to go on weekly. So that's where we offer that whole engagement side on the platform, where alumni can actually go on there and see their other the other alums around the world. And we try to sync it with publicly available information, professional information from that alum, so that the database is always live. And that way you provide immense value to the actual school, because they have an up-to-date database. So even they can then see, whoa, we have so many people back in Dubai, or we have a whole community in London that we didn't know about. We should organize something there. And there are already so many schools around the world that organize these kind of global events. I mean, IE does a really good job at them.
They do.
But yeah, we kind of take our inspiration from that, and now with so many more automations possible and these platforms, so much information available on the web, you can actually scale that creation of events. So we just give them the data and the tools, and they've done a lot of different cool things with it. And that's also what we're testing now. We kind of just want to give them the resource that they haven't had before, and then react based on that.
So, just to preface what I'm going to say, I really geek out over GTM, right? So, here's a question to you. There's a few ways to build this business out, right? There's the student-led way, where you go how Facebook started back at Harvard, just a way like a student directory, right? You start acquiring people from different schools and just start acquiring, and this builds a new whole community. Then there's a way of actually going to the schools. Now, my question to you is, why did you choose to go down the school route, considering they don't have all the data to populate immediately? And there's one answer in my head, which is customer acquisition cost. But just would love to hear your thought process of how did you dissect different strategies and pick the one that you did.
Yeah, I mean, first mover advantage is a big thing, where so many of these social platforms have come and they've just swept the market, and that's just become the go-to. So to really get like B2C adoption is what everyone now is trying to crack. And the number of B2C startups in the last 15 years gone exponentially. So that was a really competitive route. Like, how do you actually convince someone that there's value? And then you first need to kind of provide the value for them to come onto the platform. And there's a huge hype around it. And that becomes really difficult to actually create. And it seemed like more of an actual strategic and consistent route to go through the schools, because they just had no insight. And a lot of these schools have big budgets and the big resources, and they realized that a lot of branding to do with schools and universities has to do with where did the alumni go. So they wanted that resource, and I think there are already enough like, kind of social tools out there for the actual alums themselves. So if we build something for the school that they really want, they will be the one using it, and then they will also be the ones to actually do the outreach to get them to come on, because it's in their best interest. So that was kind of our approach there, where it was kind of a shot into the abyss if you just go the typical B2C route and try to build this platform which, everybody should be on here. Whereas with the other one, could wake up a more structured B2B approach, which is more consistent.
So there is no conflict of interest from these business schools per se, or let's say schools in general, that they already have an existing platform, and for them to migrate from what they have to something new is not a cause of concern. Perhaps you already have something in mind that it syncs both these platforms together, or it becomes an add-on to an existing platform. How have these conversations come along?
So that's actually the crazy part. There's only one school in the Middle East that has their own platform.
Oh, really?
So this is complete like blue ocean.
Yes.
After talking about this, who knows? Maybe there might be 500 other kind of
You have first
alumni
movers
tech
advantage.
startups. But no, there's every school we approached and spoke to. We now have schools in Oman, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Bahrain. None of them. And I'm talking about schools that are big international names, with even big educational holding groups, and they just have no real system. There has been one organization that tried to build it internally. They tried to make it work for 1-2 years, but we all kind of know how companies, when they try to innovate internally, that just goes pretty slowly. So yeah, they struggled with that as well, and we've just now kind of also been approached a whole bunch by different schools who've now heard from us. We kind of saw the first word of mouth effect coming in the last month. Because the thing is that a lot of these international schools, at universities, it makes sense to hire an alumni coordinator. But for like schools around the world, it just, some may just be big enough, but they're just in that awkward gap where they don't know if they should get one. But they do want to do things with alumni, and they want to have that database. So we are just that perfect step in between to not having to hire a full-time alumni coordinator who, and the school might not even know how to approach that or what they actually want, but now with us, they actually get that data and they can decide along the way and build that up, decide what they want to do with that as they grow.
I like the product. I mean, some of my friends are already talking about, let's do a reunion. It's like, sounds nice, but like, who's going to organize that?
Yeah.
I'm certainly not. Like, that's a long process. But yeah, I like the product. You said it yourself a little bit. You said anyone can build something great, but not to downplay that. I think you guys are doing a great job. You then said, how do you, get that out there and get people to use it, which is, yes, the big question, especially in such a competitive marketing space, let's say. I wanted to know more about how you're marketing things, because I think there's more to this than you're actually letting on. And what you have said as well, like what kind of impressed me in terms of like, yeah, we're doing all these personalized emails, like personalized marketing is the best form of marketing, let's say. Yeah. So I think there's more behind the scenes. You've got your camera rolling over there. Tell us all about that. Like what else is going on? You're not telling us everything.
Yeah, we really, because as I said at the start, we realized that distribution now is the most important. And I think also we looked at a whole bunch of Y Combinator videos online. That was a perfect school as well. I was always really interested about startups to get some really cool ideas. But yeah, I think like founder-led sales has always been really like close to us, where it makes sense because we are international students. We have been all over the world. One of my co-founders is from France, who's also lived in the States and who's moving to Dubai. Me and my other co-founder, we've grown up in Dubai. We're Dutch, Norwegian. He's lived in the States. I've lived in Spain. So we've been all over. We understand like them. When we go into that call, they kind of, they identify with us. They know who we are. So I think that's really, really been super helpful. Also, in terms of outbound, I use my personal story in part of my message. I'm never really pitching the product in the first message. I'll start off with something like, hey, I'm an international student. I'm back in Dubai, and we're currently building this venture, helping with automating alumni databases. I'd love to get your take on what it is that we're building, and hopefully you'd be able to poke some holes into it. And that would be my actual sales on it, just to get that call. And then I do product first, because we've been in so many calls that we've kind of gotten all the different combination of questions that they have. And I've also gone into conversation with a lot of VCs early on. Not to fundraise, we're still like bootstrapped, and we want to fundraise at one point, but we just realized it's up to us at this stage to just prove the business model, and then once that business model is there, we can actually scale that.
That resonates with me, because I can't recall and give credit to the person who said it, but I read this quote, and I say to every startup founder that I meet, ask for money and you'll receive advice. Ask for advice and you'll receive money.
Yeah. And I got a lot of really good tips from VCs. Like they have such a big database and all the things that have happened, so much experience, that I would just throw my idea out there. And they would say, yeah, but we've invested in a similar vertical in the sports industry and they failed because of this. They failed because of this. And then I would just be writing that down and, well, thank you very much. Or they'd be telling me, what are your outbound strategies? And my very first call, I'm like, well, we haven't really thought of that yet. And he's giving me all these suggestions. And I think that's a really useful tool as well. You can like build those relationships on the side for when it's needed. But I mean, in the end, you know, it's up to us to put that business model there and show that that's something that's worth it. And that marketing part of things is so important. And that's still what we're figuring out now. Just, you know, I didn't have social media for a while. Now I'm kind of back on it just because you have to. You really have to know like what different, you know, you guys talking about like what different creatives are being used.
Yeah.
And how are these people all of a sudden becoming infinitely more scalable because they're selling to the world. If you don't adopt or have your own strategy digitally, you're constantly constraining yourself to that really small local market.
Yeah. Amazing. Karan, any final remarks, questions or anything?
I mean, I just want you to sell to my school so I can get on some.
Fantastic.
Find some of the people I went to school with.
Yes,
Right.
it's so hard to find them where they are, right?
Yeah.
And once they scatter across the globe, even Facebook becomes distant.
It's a
Right.
shame. I lost some really close friends. Like we're just not really speaking.
We used to be
anymore.
really good buddies when we were in school together, spent 8-9 years. So of course, when we catch up, maybe right now, it'll just take a few moments to get back to where we were.
Yeah.
But it's just that everybody's busy with their own lives.
Yeah.
So I can see a huge market potential, and
And on that
it's
on that last note of how we incorporate like artificial intelligence is for the user side, we've actually trained our own model where you can actually ask like, hey, I'm looking for an internship in finance, and it's going to look at your own profile as well as all the profiles in the alumni database and instantly give you suggestions to who you should reach out to. So yeah, we're very, very excited. It's a super exciting time to be building because the scene is changing just every month.
Yeah.
And even us as not super experienced startup founders have had small little ventures or side hustles. Yeah. But yeah, it's I'm very excited about the future.
And you're doing it already by like telling your personal story and building your personal brand. But like because it's quite clear, like just speaking to us, that you already have like people's emotional buy-in because they resonate. It's like almost got this like you've got that emotional angle to it. So like really build that into your pitch every single time. Like with Alessio, I think yours is more like logical, isn't it? Because like when you came and pitched, you always had the stats, you know, like 70% return on or like improvement. So it's just two different angles.
Yeah.
So you've got the emotional side. But with that being said, guys, that wraps us up here today. Share this like crazy, please, because, you know, from our founders here today, they've taken time out of their weekend to come and pitch. They're doing great work, so they deserve that exposure. Karan, thank you for coming as well. He's taking his time out of his weekend as well, come in and sit down with us, and we want to do many more like this throughout the year. So share it like crazy, please, and we'll keep the content coming.
Amazing.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice one.
Thank you, everyone.